And welcome to the Talon Outdoor Show. I'm Charlie.
I'm JD.
Captain Paul Tire.
And I'm Grant.
I'm still missing Fred. I guess it was a longer process than we thought it was going to be. he had to listen to last week's show. We're actually, so some of our current events might not be great. We're having to do a show a week early. So you all know.
Me and Grant both going to be gone.
Yeah. So right now you're gone.
I'm gone. I'm in Kennesaw Mountain, Georgia.
And I'm in South Carolina.
Well, we ain't far off from each
not
other.
too far.
Yeah. Paul's probably fishing.
Yes, I'm fishing.
And right now I'm
Sleeping on
10
the couch.
o'clock in the morning. Probably still asleep on Saturday morning.
I wasn't making that up. I wasn't pulling that from.
I don't know what I'm going to do from minute to minute, much less day to day, and certainly can't predict 2 weeks out unless my wife has something on my calendar. I look at my calendar and I go, what am I scheduled to do today? So people go, hey, are you available? And sometimes I'll say I'm available all next week. You're not busy? I say, oh, I'm busy. I got more to do than I can say grace over, but I don't have anything on my calendar, which means I'm flexible. Yeah. There's a difference between being flexible and being busy.
That's right.
You're not fully committed.
I don't have any spare time, but I can squeeze you in somewhere along the way. So,
well, it's only a week away technically, so it's not 2 weeks. It's a week. I know where I'm gonna be because I got tickets.
Yeah. I just.
What are you going to?
A concert.
Oh boy.
Cody Johnson, country music guy. Cody Johnson, Kojo. I'm a Kojo Nation guy. Y'all people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Johnson's got to stick together.
You got to stick together with the Johnsons. Like a cousin Cody.
Oh, Big Johnson. Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So when we record early, there's always, we'll talk about stuff. We'll talk about a court case. I think it would have been completely different in 2 weeks when this thing are a week away. We record a week ahead of time in this case. And we try not to do it any more than we have to because we can't be current. We talked to Paul about fishing. Paul's like, well, I don't know.
I don't
know, but he knows what the weather forecast is. And with all the years' experience you got fishing, Paul, if you know the weather forecast and the temperature and the time of year, can you tell me pretty much if fish are the baits are fishing?
Yes,
the
sir.
They're
going to be biting.
Should we go?
You need to go. Do you need to go fishing this weekend?
Yes, you do. I tell you what, they've been biting all week.
Yeah, because that weather forecast. Do you remember when the weather forecast was just like a shot in the dark?
Yeah.
It was like one of those things. Well, it's
50% chance of rain. It might not. There you go. Have a nice day.
We have the likelihood of showers today, afternoon thunderstorms here in the summer. We pretty much make the whole summer prediction back then. Well, we got a high system moving in, so there's less chance of rain here. And they show you a map, and they have a big H on it, and a little line with some little triangles coming off of it. And we got a high system coming in, so chance of light rain. We have a low moving in. We're going to have some rain showers, and we have a tropical system. You had like in the summertime, you had a tropical system coming in, so you were going to get some rain.
They bite on
you had a high coming in, you're not going to get any rain. You'd have a low moving in, I think you'd probably have some rain. In that front. But the prediction was pretty much you go to 4 years of meteorology school.
Hot and wet.
Yeah, and that's what you'd come up with. And you're sitting there going, okay, duh, And
I bet if you live in a different region of the country where you have like actual
weather,
yes, on this side of town you got that, you know what I mean? Yeah, but down here it's just like you said, hot and wet,
cold and wet.
Well, now with all the technology, you can based on your zip code, you will have a different forecast. So when I'm in Dothan and I pull up the weather forecast on my phone, like here recently, it would be like 20% chance of rain. And then let me go to Mariana. Well, I go to Mariana, it's like 30% chance of rain. And then I check Panama City, it's 40% chance of rain because the closer you are to the coast, the more likely you are to pick up those showers coming in from that moisture moving in off the coast. Yep. And it sort of peters out as it gets north of there. I can say that on the radio, can't I?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so as it gets further north, and so I've been watching rain because I've had some grass seed in there. Now, by the time this show airs, I'm hoping to have had
some precipitation.
There's a 50% chance.
You might get some, you might not.
Well, if there's 50% chance on Monday, that's 50-50 I got rain, but there's 50% chance on Monday, 50% chance on Tuesday. then does that make it? And then all week, so I got 5 days. It's 50% chance every day. Does that still mean it's 50% chance that I got wet?
Exactly.
Yep.
See, I don't think that's the way it should work though, because if it's 50%, I got so I got an acre of land that's 50% chance, and I get rain on 50% of it the first day.
You're using common sense math, and it don't work that way.
It should.
That's what I had somebody try to tell me. Now, Paul, let me ask you this. We talking about boats and stuff. I had somebody tell me, I said, man, that boat had 400 horsepower outboards on the back of it. That's 1,600 horsepower. And the guy said, nah, that's not 1,600 horsepower. I was like, well, by my math, if you got 400,
You would think.
4 times 400 would be 1,600.
That's right.
He said, no, that's just 400 horsepower on the boat. And I said, no, that's 1,600 horsepower. No, that's just, it don't make the boat no faster. And I was like, well, yeah, it does. He goes, no, it's just that and it don't work that way. And I was like, well, what math? And there is a.
So by his reasoning, if you put one 400 on there and 4 400s, it's the same amount of horsepower.
Yeah.
So if I put 400 horses and then 400 more horses and 400 more horses.
Yeah.
Well,
now I can understand where you're only going to have a propeller turning so many RPM with a 400 horsepower motor. If you got 4 of them, those propellers are only still turning at the same RPM. There may be some limiting factors there.
Right. It's you're not. I understand that you are not going to get the same speed you would get if you had one 1,600 horsepower outboard that only weighed this
lot bigger.
Right.
Propeller.
So it's probably not going to be, the boat's probably not going to go the same speed with a 1,600 horsepower
go 4
single
times
engine.
faster.
Right. It's not going to go 4 times faster.
But I bet it pull 4 times as much.
Yeah, but so that's kind of was the reasoning was, okay, well, it's a bigger boat, it's got more drag, it's this, that, and the other. So if you put a smaller boat with one 400 on there, you're going to run about the same as you would. But
well, if you had 400 horses pulling it, and then you added
16.
400 more horses, you ain't going to go twice as fast. The horse can't go but just so fast.
That's right. That's all the horse will do. You know,
well, my math is I'm using redneck math.
I love that. That was good.
Well, and you're exactly right. But so yeah. Anyway.
But four 400 is way cooler than one.
Yeah.
And cost a lot more money up front and to operate, because when you get them big old boats like that, I went offshore a few weeks ago with a fella, and I was sitting there watching it, all his fancy digital display, and we're on this 36-foot contender and twin 300 Yamahas on the back, and and I'm watching it, and it's
so 600 horsepower
or 300,
depending on who you
300 times 2 or 300 twice. I mean, yeah. So
if we had
anyway,
an engineer out there,
we're sitting there looking at it, and I said 1.5, and I was like looking at that, and that was the gallons per minute or gallons per hour or something. Right. It was so you burning some giddy up fuel, with that. It wasn't miles per gallon. It was how many gallons per minute or hour or whatever it was that they were burning. But anyway. But it is what it is. But yeah,
Okay, so here's what artificial intelligence Google says about this. I said, do 2 300 horsepower boat motors equal 600 horsepower? Okay, and AI Overview says, in general, the net horsepower of a boat will decrease as more engines are added. So a boat with 2 300 horsepower engines will not necessarily have 600 horsepower. Other factors to consider include weight, hydrodynamic drag. I did not know that was a thing, but it makes sense.
Ballistic coefficient on a bullet. There you go.
The 2 lower units of the engine can also create drag that slows the boat down. The weight of the 2 engines can slow the boat down. Maneuverability, 20 engines can work together, allow more sharp, blah, blah. So technically, it's not a direct. It's not a direct proportion. However, 400 horsepower motors
you got
is
1,600 horsepower worth of motor on the back of that thing, and a couple $100,000.
But it's not a direct proportional to you. You can't say whether it runs.
I understood that part.
That
don't negate the fact there's 1,600 horsepower worth of motor on that.
If you got a bigger motor in a truck, you typically would get pound for pound get better miles because it didn't have to work so hard. But then we drive it the way we drive it, so it gets worse.
It's fun.
Because we put bigger tires on it. Be right back. segment was designed by in our pre-planning stages of the show, when we do our brief before the show and we go down point by point on all of the points we want to make during the show. This was designed to be an educational thing. So initially, where was that pad? Oh, that's right. We don't have one, do we? So Lord knows how we got there. JD's concerned now that I've invited the Google AI discussion in here that now we're being listened to. And,
let me tell you.
Is that going to change how you say what you say?
No, it ain't going to change nothing. Skynet better bring a bunch of help.
Yeah.
Terminator shows up at the house. I know how to get rid of him.
Yeah. So speaking of boats, okay, so I'm pre-planning. So I got 2 fishing and boating experts in the room. I sold my John boat, and I don't go offshore. Okay, and I'm looking for what I want my next boat to be, because I want the ability. I never go, but I want the ability to go. But now my requirements are, I want to be able to go on the river, and I want to be able to go the big river for fun. And we might hit the Chipotle or something, but I can always borrow a boat if that's all I'm going to do. I want to be able to go into the flats and fish. I do not want to be able to go where there's any chop or off. I'm not going out to any islands or anything like that. I could so I'm looking for something that I could use in the flats, use on the river, and carry me, the wife, and 2 kids or maybe a couple grandkids or something at some point in the future.
You need the boat I have.
So
you need something similar to what I have, which is it's aluminum, 20-foot bay boat. It's a glorified bass boat. It is like a decked bass boat, like you have front and rear casting decks on it, except it has a center console with a leaning post in the middle instead of having the sit down in like a bass boat. You have basically, you drive it or operate it sitting down on the floor. They got a seat mounted to the floor of the boat, and you're sitting behind a windscreen.
I don't feel like I could see things or obstructions and things like that.
Right.
Sitting down.
So what I have is essentially the parts of a bass boat that I have are the back end and the front end is a casting deck to fish from.
Right.
It's got rod boxes. In the middle, it's got you stand up essentially or sit on a leaning post. You're sitting up high. You've got a center console where you've got some storage and stuff like that. It's a they call it a bay boat. This because of the center console. That's the biggest difference between bay boats and flats boats and bass boats. Is you're not in the bass boat, you sit down in it, you're running channels and this, that, and the other, and you go really fast and all that. The center consoles and the flats boats are not really made for that all-out speed that bass boats are made.
I don't think I'm going to buy a new boat. I think I'm going to buy a used boat just because I'll get rid of the depreciation. The more I'm going to use it, I don't necessarily think I need a new one. So 20-foot, how wide
18,
is that?
I don't know the width on mine, but it's
like 60, 70?
No, it's more like 84, 82, 84.
Wide,
it's pretty
really
wide.
wide.
Yeah, his boat's very stable too.
Yeah, and the wider.
And that's what you want.
Yeah, the wider your boat is, the more you can walk around without getting all the tipsy stuff.
So
and
I can pee
mine
off
is
the side without falling
you can.
off. Okay,
That's
or, what I need.
Or getting the dripping on the side. I mean, exactly.
It's aluminum. You just wash it off. You go out in the salt water, you can bring it in and spray it off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, and if it's the center console, it's the wiring. The biggest difference between bass boats or freshwater intended boats and saltwater boats is the wiring when they put those boats together. The wiring, they tend to use better wiring components, and they insulate them or coat them better so that it can stand up to the saltwater.
So what about horsepower?
Well, I mean, if you put no, I'm kidding.
Well, if we put 4,
the bigger, the more people you've got in there, the more weight you're carrying. My boat has 150 horse, so the boat that I have, the 20-foot boat that I have, 115 is kind of like the small motor, and then the 150 is the big motor. But I think you could probably, I don't know what mine's rated for. I think mine might be rated for 175. So 150 is kind of the sweet spot, and Paul will attest to this. I've had a saying, and I've talked to my friends will verify that I've said this. There's nothing more miserable than an underpowered boat.
Yes.
That is the most miserable thing on the planet. If you got a boat with too small of a motor that won't get up on plane and you put any weight in it, it starts plowing and stuff, and there's nothing more miserable than being in a boat that's underpowered. And overpowered gets dangerous. So you got to be. The Coast Guard will make recommendations. If it's a commercially manufactured boat, it'll give you a maximum horsepower rating.
That's right. And
a maximum number of people and or weight.
That's right.
In a boat. So.
Well, I know what an overpowered boat will do because I have put a 15 horsepower on the back of a canoe.
Right.
And
and it's scary.
He was in it?
No, my daddy did that, and I took it out, and it will go straight up in the air. I mean,
right.
You got all that weight on the back plus my big butt in the back, and you hit it, and once you do that, and the wind hits it, literally.
There's a lot of YouTube videos where you see these guys where they put these grossly overpowered little tin boats, and they're putting a big tiller motor on the back, and that thing just the motor's in the water. You don't want that either, So it's
so Paul. I mean, that's JD talking. What do you think?
I agree with JD. What you're with
Dang,
four people.
I was hoping you disagree. It'd be way more lively conversation.
You want to be able to use it for saltwater and fresh?
Yeah. I mean, I want to be able to go in the flats and
definitely go with what JD's has. Okay. I'm actually looking for one similar to that to myself, because I want something that I can leave in the water under in the stall. Mm-hmm. Get in it and go. I want to run down the lake a little bit faster than the pontoon boat. You know what I mean? If I want to fish the hooch, it's a great. Get ready to clean it out, just spray it off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yours can handle pretty good rough water too, can't it?
Yeah, it takes rough water okay. It's not a super deep V, but it'll take a chop just fine.
Yeah.
So what brand do you have?
Mine is Express. It's XPRESS
right.
Express. There's the G3s.
G3s. I see a lot of G3s, but they're different styles.
G3s, War Eagle makes a good aluminum boat. Express,
Rhino.
There's
several of them.
There's some good boats out there that are aluminum boats, and that's the big thing. Like Paul said, people don't know this, Paul, and I didn't know it. But you take a fiberglass boat that just has gel coat on it, doesn't have any special bottom paint or whatever. And you leave it sitting in the water, you're running a substantial risk of osmosis.
That's right.
The boat actually, the fiberglass or the gel coat, actually allowing water to penetrate it and get in there and get in the fiberglass, and you'll get bubbles and delamination and all this kind of stuff from fiberglass boats being left in the water. Now, down in the saltwater, the big fiberglass boats, that's why you see that different colored paint on the bottom. That keeps the barnacles from growing on it and keeping that. They'll take those boats out of the water and paint this really thick, nasty coating on the bottom of the boat to keep that fiberglass boat from absorbing the water through there. So
that's right.
Aluminum boats require a whole lot less care. Mine actually has Rhino liner, a bed liner. Mine is the inside of my boat is bed liner material, so it is super durable. And then
I was going to ask. You see a lot of stuff that's carpet, but carpet always.
I don't have carpet. I have Sea Deck, which is the foam, the squishy foam stuff. Sea Deck and Rhino liner. So it's, as far as taking care of it, it is a super easy, quick wash down. Want to get back.
Any features that are just like gotta have this or
bottom machine,
GPS, bottom machine, and control. Now, one thing I highly recommend is a good trolling motor.
Yep.
A powerful trolling motor. Works great
like
if the motor don't crank, get you back to the hill.
I've seen 24-volt system. Is that,
24 or 36?
24 or 30. Most of your newer trolling motors today, they either can be 36 or 24. Mm-hmm. Either you just push a button on it.
Yeah.
But I like the biggest trolling on that pontoon boat that you went on. I have a 36-volt trolling motor. I've got the biggest trolling motor. Same trolling motor I have on my bass boat.
Well, I can tell you, I've had a 12-volt trolling motor on a pontoon boat, and it won't keep it in the current. You just drift. No. It's totally worthless.
I have an 80-pound thrust,
and that probably is perfect.
24-volt, 80-pound thrust trolling motor on mine. The technology in trolling motors, my gosh, has come a long way.
It sure has.
Since back in the day of the old Motor Guide
remember the Evan Roods?
Oh, yeah.
Johnson.
Evan Rood Johnson, Motor Guide, and Minn Kota. And the Motor Guide, I guess they're still in business.
They still have Motor Guide. Now you got Garmin.
Garmin has come out.
And Lowrance, they have their Ghost trolling motor. And
there's something that begins with an R. I I can't remember the name of it. They've got some, man, they have come a long way. They're making some incredible power, and battery technology has come a long way. The lithium batteries now, these super lightweight lithium batteries that you can buy that are one battery set up for 24 volts, so you're not having to jump. Put a jumper on two 12-volt batteries, so you're cutting down on the weight.
Well,
Anytime
they
you
make
can
that
cut
for
down
golf carts too, where you can have a 48-volt golf cart and it's one big battery. It's a 48-volt. So,
but the technology on that stuff has come a long way. I remember when a Sure Enough Motor Guide Magnum or a Motor Guide Hog. Remember those? Yeah. And they were hogs because they ate batteries like nobody's business. You got about 6 hours of fishing off of one of those batteries. Right. But they were making, as a 12-volt battery or 12-volt trolling motor, making about 30 pounds of thrust.
Yeah.
So.
Well, would you take that boat on a smaller river like the Ocklawackee?
Oh yeah.
You can
Absolutely.
Do that.
Sure. Okay. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. There's it has its limitations about. You can't do things in it that we used to do with our little John boats, like jump over logs and go back into narrow, thick cover to duck hunt.
Sloughs. Okay.
Little sloughs and stuff, but because it's big.
And you can take it on the bay and on Lake Seminole if you wanted to.
Absolutely. Okay. And man, the flats for that boat really shows what it's all about.
You could put 4 people on one.
Oh sure.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, you could haul more than that probably. Just going out to a sandbar or something like that. But
there's mine has seating on the live well in front of the center console. It's got 2 seats on either side of the lean post, and then 2 people on the leaning post. So you could comfortably seat 5 people.
Cool. All right. Well, it's just an exercise in what we might do. We'll be back in just a minute. My go-to shopping spot for pretty much anything that I want to buy affordably is Facebook Marketplace. I mean, I just go there because everybody lists stuff. I sold my boat in 15 minutes on Facebook Marketplace to a guy who wanted to buy it for a 16-year-old son so he could fish with his grandpa. And he came over and I said, and had like 5 people wanting it. I should have priced it higher, and I could have gotten a bidding war, and had them all But I go in there and I see boats galore. There's all kinds of boats in there, and then I put mine out there and it's like gone. I mean, just like that. But it's just how far are you willing to drive? I bought multiple vehicles out of there for the security company. I bought all those Priuses that I bought. Every one of those came off of Facebook Marketplace, and they just went to the bank, got cash, went and paid for it. Problem is you go to the bank, you say, I need $10,000. They go, we have to fill out a suspicious transaction, the SARS report, which is what Hunter Biden got in trouble. Had a bunch of stuff, and I'm like, that's fine, that's cool. I mean, I need money, and then I'd go broker a deal and take that thing straight to Todd County, put a lift kit on it, and then put it right in the field. Go up to Super Science, get my graphics put on it.
You might be a redneck if you put a lift kit on a Prius. You just might.
Well, here's the thing:
the fact that they have lift kits for Prius is just as
offroadprius.com. Northern California. So
they must have some bad roads out there.
They've got they go up in the way up in the north part of the state, and they got some deserts and stuff, and they go out there, and there's the guy who owns offroadprius.com actually has a Prius and goes off road, takes that thing out. There's front wheel drive hybrid. He goes out in the desert with the thing. He's got his has got some bigger tires and different kind of tires on it. But you can go crazy with these things. They make even bigger ones.
So let me ask you this: so if
ones.
You got a front wheel drive Prius for off-roading. Now, back in the day when we had a pickup truck that was a 2-wheel drive and you wanted to go out in the woods or in the mud, you put some big old 1050, 1150 mud grips on the back and jacked the back of it up and left the street. Right, but you left
shackles.
You left street tires on the front. Yeah, you put some 2x4s under the put some 2x4s or 4x4s under the springs to get the back end up so you could put them big tires on them, and you left the street tires on the front. Now with a Prius off-road, are you putting the mud grips on the front and leaving the back alone?
I guess it don't matter what goes on the back.
It's just along for the ride.
But you look at it, what would get a pickup truck stuck is the fact that you had no weight in the rear end,
right?
And it would zzz, and you would dig a hole and you get stuck there. If you had weight, you get more traction.
It's even worse if you had a one-wheel wonder.
Yeah, well,
no kind of limited slip or whatever differential. You got that one tire spinning, you done.
Yeah, you just had open differential, and you just one tire zoop, and you're done. You you pulled emergency brake down, try to slow that thing down, and get the other one, but it's so. Yeah, I mean the problem is fender clearance and all that stuff. The reason I did I bought one of those Priuses for mileage, and I'm not trimming anything, and so get out there with a sawzall and some fender flares, which they make fender flares for them too. They make mud flaps for them. They got so I'm standing, I'm pointing at that thing, and I was telling Matt one day, we were over there teaching one of the Right to Bear seminars, and I said something about getting this Prius, and he goes, you need to lift it. And I said, yeah, they don't make lift kits for Priuses. So he goes, wait a minute, boss. And he Googled it and showed it to me, and I went, holy crap. Like 10 minutes later, I had that sucker on the way. And so then it got to be a little bit of a thing where I'm going, I can get something that gets 45, 50 miles to the gallon on a job site. And I can but the minute we got it, I took it up to one of these places we patrol, and I'm driving around the parking lot, and it kept scuffing the front end, as it was so low to the ground. And but we put the lift kits on it, and it doesn't do that anymore. So now you have.
I was going to ask you got any of them stuck?
Well, we don't go off road with it. It's just paved parking lots. These are just we patrol parking lots and streets and things like that with them.
Of course.
We have the Frontiers that we run off roads on the plantations.
Gotcha.
Now we do have a couple solar projects that we're working with FPL. We're providing security for the construction companies, putting up solar projects, and we're running around in Priuses. They also have side-by-sides there, so we run the roads and the hard pack. It's off on dirt and mud holes and stuff, but if they go off into the real soft, then they jump in one of those Kubotas. And
Paul, he leaves the keys to one of them Priuses here at the office. Me and you go find out if it gets stuck.
Okay.
There's one in the parking lot, I think. We'll be right back. And we're back. So they're sitting there on the break trying to do basic math. So how many segments did we do?
We ain't done well with math today at all. I mean, as you know,
well, when 4 times 4 is not 16 anymore. Well, when you were talking about 400 horsepower motors, see, that shows you how basic my math is. I went 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 in my head to come up with 16, and you said 4 times 4 is 16. My math is way more basic because me and CJ had this conversation on the way over this morning driving in to do the show. As I said, I was talking about working security contracts, and I said, okay, so we're working 7-hour shifts on this particular job, and it's 7 days a week. I said, so I think that's 49. I said, is that right? And he goes, I said, my times tables, I don't do my times table. He goes, well, neither do I. I went, okay. Well, we found something in common right there. And then I look over the calculator, and I went, yeah, that's so growing up, I had this was it Riverside Elementary, and I remember this, and I was talking to him today about how I said, son, at your age, there are a lot of core memories that are being developed, and you got to be careful how you talk to people and how you might affect. I said, so if you did something that you were really, really proud of, and somebody just totally blew it off like, yeah, whatever, that doesn't matter. And all of a sudden you've put all this time and effort, and that could turn into a core memory, and that can change the trajectory of your life based on, it's foods you don't like or things that you do that people blow off, or somebody makes a big deal out of something, or somebody makes fun of you about something that can then turn into a thing. I said, and it's, part of growing up and dealing with it is learning how to deal with this stuff. And one of the core memories that I have is, and I forget which grade it was, but we were in elementary school, and one of the teachers had a record player, and they had this record, and it played 2 times 2 is, and you had to answer it. 7 times 9 is, and we would be in the room and she would point.
Uh-oh.
And I don't know if we did this one time or 1,000 times, but this is a core memory of mine. And I won't say her name.
Put you on the spot.
She would, and I don't do well. It's kind of like if I meet somebody, it may take me a few minutes to try to remember where I know them from or what their name is. I'm terrible with names. And, JD knows this. I come in, hey, that guy I was talking to for 15 minutes. What's his name again? Oh, yeah, that's so-and-so. All right. And so when you talk to me, it's best if you remind me. Even, I mean, not like if we talk every day, but you know what I'm saying. You hadn't seen me in 6 months, might help to drop a hint or two. Especially if I say, hey, man, hey, what's up, bud, or something like that, then I just, if you don't hear your name in the conversation for a little while, and if I don't introduce you to who I'm talking to, it's because my mind just took a blank. And it's not, you could be one of the most important people, but my mind just doesn't, it just goes into this, it's a thing. And probably I'm on the spectrum somewhere.
The thing.
The thing, the thing.
I can totally relate to you, Charlie.
Yeah. And so and I go back, and every time it happens, I think about this time where
7 times 6 is,
I don't know. So I go, okay, 3 of them, 7's 21, so 42. But I have to go. I have to break it down into smaller numbers. I go 7 times 6, so I can do 3 of them 7's 21, and then that times twice that is 4. Yeah, that's how I have to do it in my brain because I can't remember that. And so
maybe why I can't do algebra.
Well, I can do algebra.
I can't do algebra.
Really? I can do algebra. I can do.
You ain't supposed
calculus,
to be mixing letters and numbers. That just don't do.
Well, see, I can sit there and work with that stuff better than I. But even doing, I mean, I'm sitting there working. Somebody was showing us, well, it's another day in life. I didn't use Pythagorean theorem, and I go, well, I use it all the time to figure stairs. If you want to square a concrete slab, I mean, getting out, you got all these multiple tape measures, and you're trying to do all this stuff. Well, you just take the measurement of one side and the measurement of the other, and you say side A times side A, side plus side B plus times side B, A squared plus B squared. See what that number is, and then take the square root of it, and then that's what your diagonal measurement should be. So you can take, we would do this out on traffic scenes and stuff where we were figuring, radiuses of curves and things like this when we were doing traffic investigations. All that stuff comes into place, and that's part of any traffic homicide investigation, things like that. That all uses that.
You see those marks they got on the road, or when there's accidents, or maybe if
all that comes into play. I can do that, but I can't tell you what 7 times 9 is.
63.
It's what?
63.
Is it? Okay.
But you know what 9 times 10 is?
Well, 90.
Yes,
yeah. I mean, give me the 10s. The 9s, the 9s, the 7s, and the 8s are where I have a hard time. But it comes back to, she'd point to me, and I'd go,
Yeah, I know.
And, dude, it just embarrassed me. And that's one of those core memories. And I go back, and I go, it's things like that can actually, and to this day, somewhere in my brain it says I'm not learning that. I'm just not going to learn that. So core memories, man. I'm telling you, it's and the thing is at his age, this is when all this is happening. That preteen time and teen years. That's when you become self-conscious about things, or when things that kind of stuff matters. I said so. It's better to talk about it then than just let a whole lifetime go by and not deal with it. It's and the thing is when you're growing up, and the last show we talked about, conversations I had with him about growing up being a man is you have to be cognizant of how your opinions of others and how you express those opinions, and how you I don't tolerate a bully. I won't have a bully. I'm the anti-bully. I mean, that's one of the reasons we got in law enforcement was to fight that mindset. But you have to be careful not to become one, intentionally or unintentionally.
In the process, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you sit around and you have to weigh that all the time, and law enforcement has a hard time with that today because we're viewed as being bullies and all the bad things that people say about it.
And there are cops that get into law enforcement because they were bullied their whole life, and now they want the power to be one, and that does happen. It's rare. It's a small number. It's not they don't last long usually.
I've had this philosophy in life about law enforcement. There's three kinds of cops, and this is oversimplistic, but it's the one I've been working with. There's three kinds of cops. You've heard this from me before. There's the kid in school who was bullied, and he or she is looking for a way is empowering themselves so that they can get back. It was a person with little man syndrome or whatever who was a bullied, who was weak in school and was picked on, and they get in law enforcement as a way to get back. All right, and then they do. They will screw with people because they can. They use that power as an aphrodisiac. They use that as a tool to empower themselves, make them feel better about themselves. And you see it. Those people are easy to pick out. Then there was the bully, the kid that grew up being a bully. He bullied people, and he realized that I'm not going to be able to continue to do this my whole life, but I can become a cop, and I can keep being a bully. And so they go around and they are bullies, and those are pretty easy to pick out. So you've got the kid that was bullied and the bully, and so they are in this for the wrong reason. But then there is your true protector, and that is the kid who took up for the kid who was being bullied against the bully, or the one who would say something when they saw something, the one who would get in a fight. I've had my mouth busted wide open because I stood up for a kid in middle school against another kid, and we all knew each other, but one was picking on the other, and one of us said, "Stop me," because I'll beat. I said, "Well, go ahead," and he punched me in the mouth, and I had braces and cut my mouth open. We went and we went back to being friends after that. But I remember doing that a couple times in school, and that was something that steered me this way. Those cops are the best cops. They're the ones that see the righteous in the world, and they try to be part of they want to be one of the righteous. They want to be one of the protectors. They want to make a difference in those. And the thing is the others are the ones that the ones who shouldn't be in law enforcement are the ones that make the rest of us look bad. We're out there trying to do a good thing, and we're all rough around the edges. We all say things that probably don't want to say in mixed company. It's how we deal with the stress. It's how we deal with all the crap in the world that we have to see and we have to be part of, and that we have to tolerate in this judicial system that's the best in the world, but it still sucks. There's no real true justice in this system. But it's the best we've been able to come up with.
Yeah, I agree. It's all constantly needing improving too. That's why you have to get involved.
Yep. We'll be right. And we're back.
Yeah, we are.
So y'all talk.
Well, I mean, it's. Hey, Paul, the fish been biting this week.
Well, I'll tell you what,
man. I want to hear your. See, now you cannot be a truly good fisherman without being somewhat of a. I'm not going to say a liar, but a positive thinking exaggerator, maybe.
Yes,
a little bit.
Based on the weather.
Yeah.
They're biting.
Yeah,
they're biting.
Yeah,
and I've learned this too. Anytime, like this, this week with the weather conditions, they're definitely biting.
Yeah, this time of year, they're going to feed. The fish are going to be feeding. You get those hot
in the mornings.
Morning and evenings are going to be good. Places like Lake Talcon where fish tend to school.
That's right. They have been schooling.
And they have been. And that's going to continue through the summer when you get the shad spawns and those big schools of shad out there.
That's right.
And still water when you don't have the high winds and rough conditions. You can
see them.
You can see them
on the surface.
And
up
on the surface. And there is nothing more fun than getting in a big school of bass.
That's right. That's some fun fishing right there.
That kind of stuff's going on. The pan fishing's good this time of year. Cat fishing's good this time of year.
Yeah, I had a buddy was doing some cat fishing up on Seminole, and he caught some, man, like a 30, 40 pound flathead, several of them, some big ones.
I've never caught a flathead
catfish.
I've never fished for them.
Right.
So I've never caught one. I've accidentally caught them on a bush hook.
Yeah.
Because they were trying to eat the little channel cat that was on the bush hook. They won't hit dead bait for the most part. They're going unlike
I've
other
actually
catfish.
caught one flipping for bass and in a thick mat of hydrilla and set the hook, and I'm thinking I got me a 10 or 12 pounder on. And after 5 minutes, get it in, it's a big old flathead.
Hey, they're good eating. I know that. I have eaten it. I've caught numerous channel catfish on crankbaits.
Yeah,
bass fish.
Absolutely. Yeah, me too.
They will hit a crankbait. So I tell
you
what
know,
else
with this new forward-facing sonar, I'm starting to learn, what a catfish looks like and what a bass, And the other day I was fishing along. And I'm like, that looks like a bass. I threw it there and I watch him hit it. About a 7-pound catfish. I was like, oh, now I know more what that looks like.
Well, that's cool though that you can do that.
And suspended.
Yeah.
Over 20 foot of water, about 9 foot down, just cruising along. And I thought it was a bass just hanging out and catfish.
I'll be dog. Well, I tell people this, and it kind of look at you funny, but when I was a kid, I caught numerous flounder in the Apalachicola River above the bridge, between the bridge and Jim Woodruff Dam. Flounder.
What?
Yeah. We used to catch.
Above the I-10 bridge?
No, above the Highway 90 bridge in Chattahoochee. We used to catch flounder a lot in the summertime. We would catch flounder bass fishing in Apalachicola River. A buddy of mine caught a tarpon where the Gulf Power discharge, where the old Gulf Power coal burning plant where my granddaddy retired from, just south of the trestle, just downriver from the railroad trestle, where the Gulf Power is there. Buddy of mine caught about a juvenile tarpon, about a 2.5 foot long tarpon, bass fishing in there. And I've heard stories. I've always heard the stories. I've never seen any proof of it about guys catching bull shark down around Aspalagi and
I've heard of it.
Bluntstown. Yeah, I've never seen evidence or pictures or whatever else, but I've heard of that. But yeah, flounder will absolutely come up that river, and you never catch a little one. They're always big ones.
Wow.
So yeah, it's fun stuff. And this time of year is when all that stuff happens, when the water gets warm and they start. The stripers this time of year are starting to look for the springs. If you know where there's a spring where the water temperature is a little bit lower, they have to have that cooler temperature to survive the summer. So this time of year, the
stripers, they'll go way up Spring Creek this time of year, way up Spring Creek.
I don't know that there's several springs around Lake Seminole that are marked or used to be marked and used to be marked with you can't fish here during certain times of the year during the summer when it gets
May
really
through
hot.
October.
Do they still enforce that?
Yeah, I still see the buoys out there marking the springs.
Yeah, and I just wonder if they still enforced any kind of regulations to keep them from, because all the stripers in the lake are ganged up in that one little spot.
They'll get in. There's a lot of springs that are not marked too, but they'll get up in those springs.
Yeah. And I was noticing a new regulation that passed in Louisiana, where Charlie and I go out there redfish fishing. So they've lowered the daily bag limit on redfish in Louisiana to 4, and they all have to be in the same slot that we're dealing with here, which is 18 to 27 inches. They won't let them keep any big ones anymore. Over 27 is now. So if you go out to Louisiana fishing, be sure to check the regulations. There's a lot of people here that pull their boat out and go out there and fish. So it's 4 redfish a day between 18 and 27, and you can no longer keep that. They used to let you keep one redfish over 27 in Louisiana. They've stopped that.
That's going to hurt the guide service a little bit.
And they do not let the guides keep redfish anymore. So period. The guide or the captain or the crewman of the boat can't keep fish. Cannot keep redfish. If they catch it, they have to throw it back. So their limit doesn't count towards the boat limit. They're not allowed to put them on the boat. They said they can catch them and demonstrate how it's done. They got to release that fish. They can't throw it in the live well.
Yeah.
Well,
if you're not catching enough, I'm sure a good guy will make sure you got enough.
Well,
because we go out. The beauty of going out there was always that
you can actually
just keep a ton of fish.
Right. You can bring. It's worthwhile to go out there to bring back redfish. So to eat.
Did they change anything on the trout limit?
I didn't see anything on the trout out there, and they had a very liberal trout limit. There's like 15.
Way more than ours.
I think it was 15 or something like that out there with the trout limit. So I didn't see anything posted. I did notice that redfish that went into effect June the 20th. So
I want to go back. I'm ready to go back. I'm just waiting on something. I don't know what I'm waiting on.
I'm going with y'all when y'all go.
Heck yeah.
That'd be good. That'd be good.
I've heard about it, but I've never been over there.
Really?
And
well, there's a reason.
I don't want to go
right
out
there.
in the ocean where I can't see land. I get seasick.
You are so far from the ocean.
So I can handle that. It's like bass fishing.
You can't see
the places we fish out there.
I get
like,
seasick, Paul. I'm fine.
The places we fish out there you would think if you looked around you would think you were in a grassy lake. Looks like Lake Seminole used to look back up in Chimney Island and stuff.
There's a tree line off in the distance, and then beyond that tree line, that's where the place you don't want to go. Yeah. But it's where it's at. It's basically in that delta out there, whatever that
Venice?
is.
Venice.
We went out of Barataria, whatever you call it, down there just due south of New Orleans. We fished on Lake Salvador, where you actually can see New Orleans. Wow. You see the skyline of New Orleans. So we fished some on Lake Salvador, and then out in the bayous and stuff back in there, and it's just vast. That's the biggest difference, and it's why they have a 4-fish limit. They have so much more territory, so much more environment, habitat than we do. We've got the little strip along the coast, basically, and a little bit of estuary stuff here and there scattered along our coast. They have a vast amount of space that's all brackish. And
tell you what, you go out there, and if you don't know how to get back where you came from, you might not come back. They just start
GPS.
riding. Yeah. After going enough times, now I can sort of tell you where we are. But it's
I can look at that Garmin or that Humminbird on my boat and tell you where we are.
I really, really, really enjoyed it.
I honestly think, Paul, if we took a trip out there, we could take my boat and take a trip out there and we'd probably have to spend a good day of moving around to find the fish. Yeah. But then once you did, you probably could do pretty well without a guide. But if you
you don't need a guide. Who needs a fishing guide? I mean, you just go.
Well, it's like anything else. So, but I've been out there with a guide, so I kind of know what to look for and whatever else. And it's one of the things I tell people about a guide is if you go fishing somewhere new, go ahead and pay that money. Go ahead and have that, get that guide experience, because you're getting a whole bunch of that guy's time and effort.
People tell me I like coming with you because it's cheap for me to come with you once a quarter than to buy a boat and have a payment on a boat. I said, well, that does make sense.
Yeah, that's true too.
It's absolutely true.
Yep.
Say a guy like me who hardly ever goes fishing, that just wants to go fishing sometimes, take the kids family fishing. Smarter for me to go pay you to go take the family fishing than it is for me to go invest in all that. And it's not that I can go buy the nicest boat I want to buy all the fishing tackle I want to buy. What am I going to do with it?
That's right.
I don't know what to do with it. I don't know where to go. I don't know the techniques. I don't know the stuff. I don't know where the fish are biting. That's the value of having a fishing guide like you, Paul, or going to Louisiana, and they know we know what's biting this week. We know where they're biting. Those guys are on the radio talking to each other. They talk to each other afterwards, probably somewhere in some little local bar, and they go, hey, where? Yeah, and they call each other, hey, we're getting fish over here, and then you move to where those fish are. Right. So you're cramming a lot of fun and a lot of experience, a lot of success into a day or two. Yeah. Of course, when we go out there, they provide.
We got to get Fred to go.
They provide a house, and then we go stay in the house.
Is it on the water?
Yep. Yes. Yeah. That's cool. All right. Well, I think that's it. We'll see y'all next time.